Okay, everyone, so for those of you who are new, to ask your question, there's a little hand icon. You just press that, and that lets me know that you have your hand raised. Or put your question, type them into the question box, and then I'll read them out loud. But we'd really, really prefer if you ask them using your microphone, because Joe sometimes has questions, and it just works out a lot faster. So let's get started. Here's Joe.
Okay, everybody. So this is going to be a little different on this Q&A. First thing we're going to do is go into a new program that we have, and then we're going to open it up for any questions that you might have about it. So we're going to do this in two pieces. So the first piece, when we do the Q&A, is just strictly going to be about the new program. If there's any questions about that, then once we're done with that, then we'll say that, okay, we're finished with those questions. Then we're going to go into the Q&A of the real estate questions that any of you might have there. Okay, so let's go to the next screen here. Okay, Courtney, there we go. Okay, so so the first thing I want to talk about before we get into this program is a statement that I put out there. I had a lot of private activity on these rules or steps that you should follow to make sure you're making the most money possible out of real estate investing. So I've seen some really, really experienced information marketers that also do a little bit of real estate, dabble in real estate, and I've seen them get so confused over the change in the White House administration and the change in how banks are going to start become able to loan money a little bit easier again, and then they watch the stock market go up and down. They get confused as to what it is they should be doing and how they should be doing it, and the bottom line is, the model that I put together that I've followed for, I won't say I followed for 5 decades, but it's from 5 decades of experience of mine. That model that I put together based on all of that experience, my grandparents' experience as well, and my parents, is true today. It was true, 3 years ago, 8 years ago, 15 years ago. It'll be true 10 years from now, the same exact model. So let me kind of go over these points. So the first thing I want you to realize is you should have a portion of your properties that you're able to acquire without spending any more than $1,000, and many times you shouldn't spend any more than 11 bucks. All of that's in Jumpstart. Most of you are in Jumpstart, so you understand what I'm talking about there. But there's times where people think that that's the only way I do real estate deals. You can't possibly imagine all the types of real estate deals that I do. I just don't put it all in front of everyone because it just completely overwhelms them, and then they try to mimic what I'm doing, and they get so lost because they don't have a regular system to a foundation of their business just getting started and going into it or restarted. So at the level that Jumpstart puts you at, that's where I kind of keep you at, understanding that you should be doing about 25% of your deals. And a lot of people need a number, so there's a number for you, where you're not spending any more than $1,000, and many times we don't even spend $10 or even $1 on some of them. So there's 75% more of your deals that should be other types of deals that you're doing. But if you can't do that number one without spending any money, if you don't understand how to do it or haven't done it at all, you've got to understand how to do that so that when the economy shifts, and it always will, you might have to go deep into that because you may not be able to get a deal any other way. All right, so make sure the property's paying for itself, paying you while you're holding on to it. You don't ever want to hold on to it. I was just listening to, God, was that this morning or was that yesterday? I think it was this morning. Yeah, it was this morning. As a matter of fact, there's a buyer going into one of my properties right this minute. They took over a property, and they've completely gutted the whole inside, and they're kind of redoing the whole inside, but they've been messing with that for months. the property's making them nothing the whole time they're doing that. You don't want to get into that kind of a world unless you've got dozens of properties that are paying you and you decide, okay, this one here, we're going to hang on to it and we won't be able to make anything off of it right now, but we will down the road. That is the kiss of death and buries a lot of real estate investors because they don't get that, and they start off right out the gate. Let me go buy this property. Let me go use my credit. Let me go put my cash into it, and they don't have a clue as to who they're going to sell it to or how to make money off of it in the beginning before they commit to it at all. So you got to understand that that's what you should be doing, a lot of deals that way, so that then every now and then when you want to dabble with one that is a little bit more risky, then you can without it affecting you. All right, number 3. You got to learn how to watch the economic shifts to determine which direction and techniques is the most profitable way or ways to move forward. So there's so many different things that affect real estate deals. Number 1, your training level. Number 2, the willingness of the seller. Number 3, the willingness of the buyer, the end buyers. Number 4, the economy. What's going on in the economy? What has changed? And that's the local economy where that property's at, as well as a much larger picture, say your state or your country that you're doing your deals in. So you've got to understand how to follow that, and there's many times, this is the one area right here where people need the most work. They need the most help with that part of it because it is the thing that will make you a whole lot more money when you either know how to do it yourself and focus on it, or you know how to find the right person who can help you find the additional income that you didn't realize was sitting there in front of your face. Okay, number 4, keep an open mind to controlling a part, no matter how small, of the deal for as long as possible. So I want you to kind of jump into the conventional wisdom world with me for a minute. So let's say you're a realtor, or you're a contractor, or you're a loan originator, or insurance provider, or credit repair, or what have you. Think about, how do those people keep themselves in the mind of the customer after they've done the deal together? So one way is they send them, maybe birthday cards or, season greeting type cards or what have you. They'll every now and then send something out. Maybe they'll provide their clients with a magnet that goes on the refrigerator that holds the kids' papers, the schoolwork, and the magnet has the contact information. Well, that's kind of okay, but that's a lot of effort to go through to try to make it possible for that client to remember that you exist and your service exists in the event down the road they want to change, or they have someone else who they know would love to get a house also, or sell their house or what have you. So in my world, I make sure that I stay in the deal either fully or partially, so that at any point in time, any kind of change that comes along, I'm already automatically involved with them, usually monthly, or even sometimes it's weekly, on an automatic basis. So I am totally aware when they're making a change, and I'm right there to be able to do whatever it is they need to have done so that it's more convenient for them. So now let's go into a different world that connects all this together. You're driving down a busy highway, and there's a convenience store, gas station sitting right there, and maybe 2,000 feet behind that is a large chain grocery store. And you need some milk or some bread, or maybe it's cigarettes, or whatever the case may be, and you decide that you're going to go to the convenience store instead of to the grocery store where it's cheaper. Why do you do that? Because it's more convenient. Why do most people do that? Because it's more convenient. So there's a lot of times where people will go to the smaller stores because they don't want to walk, 5 miles inside of the building of the larger superstore. The malls, they take a major hit because of that right there. People just don't want to walk everywhere through the mall to get to that one little store. There's others that love going in there all day long and just walking and walking and walking. But there's a lot of people that's not convenient. So you are extremely convenient by being in part of this deal, just like number 4 says, and you can take back over the property in the event that they've got a change that they want to make. Okay, so last thing, most important, I've kind of hit on it a little bit with 3, you got to have somebody who knows what they're doing, who really and truly understands how the economy shifts, how it changes, and how to creatively go and look in places that most other people don't, or maybe they have for a while and then they've forgotten about it and no one's doing it now. And you got to have a mentor who's keeping you focused. Second thing is you got to have somebody that you're accountable to. Now, in the future, in my Force Your Success program, I'm going to put a lot stronger things in place that really holds people's nose to the grinding stone. Otherwise, I don't want them in the program, because I'm bringing people into that program so that I can joint venture with them down the road. I want to get them up and running and then joint venture with them. If they're sitting on their thumbs, that's not doing me any good. It's not doing the people out there that is in their state or their area who needs the help, whether they're buyers or sellers or other professionals. So I only need go-getters, people who are going to go get it, and so I'm going to force them to be that, or they can't be in the program with me. Okay, so those 5 steps are really important to make the most bang for your buck out of real estate. It's not about, let me acquire a property and sell it for more than what I got into it. That is not how you make money with real estate. Okay, move on to the next slide. Okay, so now I've spent a lot of time and effort with my Jumpstart, my online Jumpstart students, and my live Jumpstart students in the past. I've looked at their problems, I've looked at their areas, I've listened to their questions, I've focused on what is it that they're not really clear about, what's their showstopper. And I'm going to tell you, this statement I'm about to make, it pains me so much to come to this realization, but there's some people that you just can't get motivated. No matter what you put in front of them, no matter what you do for them, they're never going to take off. But most of the people that I have in my world, they do a really good job and they move forward, and then they start having some serious success happening. So we looked at all the things that Jumpstart just needed to be improved upon and made better, even though I've got some people that take it and in no time flat, they don't even take most of it. They take only a small part of it, and then they're out there instantly doing deals. And then we have others who just aren't quite sure. But I have redone Jumpstart. I've created what we call Jumpstart Prime. So it's still an online program, and here's what the improvements are. It is way more clear. The clarity is so much better because it's broken down into a whole lot more understandable pieces. So when we broke it down into a whole lot more easier to understand pieces, then that means that you can easily search the one specific subject that you need a little bit of extra help with, or you want to go back and listen to again without having to go through the whole thing and try to search and find it. You can go in and find, based on the name of that section, that video, you can go back in and re-listen to it. Maybe you're about to do a specific type of deal, and maybe it's you're going back in to negotiate just with the seller. Then you could easily search out that section and then re-listen to it again right before your meeting, so that you got it clear in your mind again what it is that you're trying to accomplish. Okay, the content level has doubled. So literally, I think it's even a little bit more than double the videos and double the hours of training time in it. So the content there's a whole lot more of it. And like I said, way more clarity. There's 2 new bonuses. There's 2 bonuses that come along with Jumpstart Prime that you can't get anywhere else. So let's go into what those 2 bonuses are, because they're really cool. So go right down to the bottom there under the word new. There's contract statements. So what I've done is I've created a large number of contract statements. These are the pieces that I put that I write into my contracts that are handwritten into the contract based on the situation going on with the seller or with the buyer, so that I can make everyone comfortable with this deal, or if it's something I've got to kind of cover the base on. These are the contract statements that I use. They will not be your exact words. Your exact words will be using this as an example to write your own contract statements, but these really make it clear. There'll be so many things in there that you'll see. It's like, oh, I wish I had put, I can't tell you how many times I've heard that from students of mine in the past, where they go, oh, I didn't know I could do that. It's like, yes, you can do just about anything as long as it's legal, ethical, moral, it's proper, and you comply with all the policies and procedures, but you want to make sure that you get certain things accomplished and agreed upon, so you can do all different kinds of things. It might protect you from losing money if something goes wrong with the property or what have you. So contract statements, you're going to see a long list of contract statements, and you just pick and choose the ones that you need at the time that you're doing your next real estate deal. Okay, the other thing is, everyone's used to, that's in Jumpstart, used to my seller's acknowledgments. These are individual statements that the seller initials off on, saying they understand that that you intend to make a profit. They understand that you might not be the buyer. You might be assigning your buyer's position to another buyer. They're saying that they're not under any kind of alcohol or medical, something that alters their mind so that they can't think straight. There's a multitude of things in there. Now we have the buyer's acknowledgments. So this is when you're sitting down and working through doing your contract with your end buyer. This is them initially next to each and everything that they understand about this particular real estate deal that they're doing with you. This is really, really, really good stuff. It's extremely helpful, and in the unlikely event, because there's a possibility you could end up in court one day, in magistrate court one day, these buyer's acknowledgments cover so many different things that they are saying they understand it, and they've initialed next to it right up front that's not written in the contract. So it just strengthens everything that you're doing, so that when in the unlikely event that you have to go to court over a property or an eviction or what have you, that it's so blatantly obvious that the people understood what they were doing in the very beginning, and they've agreed upon those terms and conditions, and they've initialed next to each one of those, that it just drives the point home. Now, for those of you who are not already in my online Jumpstart, there's bonuses that are already with that as well. So there's some live negotiations that are in there. This is not the live negotiation product that we have, but these are some live negotiations, so you can get and listen to a little bit of that. There's the sign training, how to put the signs, where they should go, how to use them, what they should say, all that kind of stuff. But it's taken me years to figure a lot of that stuff out at what works the best. How to find an investor-friendly attorney, it helps tremendously to be able to use that piece, that product right there, so that it helps you understand better how to connect your business with an investor-friendly attorney. So there's some credit repair training there, just understanding what it is what the value is for your buyers and also your sellers and that credit repair. So those are already part of Jumpstart, and they'll stay in Jumpstart Prime too. But the two new ones that no one has is the contract statements and the buyer's acknowledgments. Okay, so right here is where the rubber meets the road. The Jumpstart Prime is $1,297 for anyone who is not already in Jumpstart. If you are already in Jumpstart, then until the 7th of June of this year, you can upgrade from Jumpstart to Jumpstart Prime for $197. Now, the cost of the regular Jumpstart was $997. So to upgrade from that to the Jumpstart Prime, it's a $300. It costs $300 more to buy Jumpstart Prime, which is tremendously cheap compared to what my competition, those information marketing companies out there have, that, you know, stuff that may or may not work and may or may not have worked in any economy. But this is the real stuff. This is the stuff I do every week with my real estate deals. These are the things that I'm constantly doing, constantly changing, constantly focused on more and more and more real estate deals, and that goes into this training. But to upgrade, if you're already a Jumpstart student, it's only $197 to do that. Now, if you decide to upgrade or to purchase Jumpstart Prime, either one of you, we are going to turn Jumpstart Prime on before the 1st of June. But we got a few more things that we're doing to it. Everything's pretty much done, but there's a little bit of fine-tuning that we're going to finish up with, and then we'll be turning it on. But if you do it now, then you get that savings of the $197. If you do it after that 1 June time frame, then you're going to have to buy the Jumpstart Prime to get that, the whole thing. So that's your gift right there on upgrading into a program that's more than twice as long as the one that you already have, with, you know, the new bonuses and everything that I told you about. Okay, so if you're interested in doing that, either way, buying Jumpstart Prime or upgrading from Jumpstart to Jumpstart Prime, then you can either call Courtney at the phone number there listed there, 912-395-8883, or you can wait for an email that comes from Absolute Investment Training Co. at gmail.com. That will have the order link in it for you to go in and order on the upgrade version. So if you're a Jumpstart student already, there'll be a link in there for you to upgrade. If you're not a Jumpstart student, the link won't be sent to you. You won't be able to, you know, upgrade. You have to pay, you know, join Jumpstart Prime straight out. Okay, so that's pretty much everything that I had to say about that. So let's go ahead and go back into the question and answer side of it, Courtney. And the questions right now, everyone, is just about the Jumpstart Prime. So let's get those out of the way first.
All right, to ask your questions, just type them in or raise your hand, and then I'll just go ahead and unmute you or read it out.
Okay, Courtney, anybody? I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory, but just in case there's anyone asking a question.
No, not yet.
Okay.
Just type them in or raise your hand.
Okay. Well, I'm okay with it. It's pretty self-explanatory. It's very simple. What we broke this down simply. We didn't turn it into a 90-minute presentation with, you know, all these crazy bells and whistles and all that kind of stuff. We just told them straight what it was. I can't imagine anybody having any really difficult questions about it. So, okay, so let's go ahead and go into if there's anyone who has any questions about real estate.
Ron did ask a question. He said, will this be a 4-day event?
This is online. This is your self-paced. This is Jumpstart Online. Jumpstart Prime Online is a online program. This is replacing the original Jumpstart Online. This one is at your pace, so it could take you 4 days. It could take you maybe probably 2 long days to do that. I think there's isn't there like 18 hours of training in that or something like that, Courtney? At a minimum.
Yeah, it was
not counting all the
18.
other. You're not counting all the other stuff that goes along with it, but
he said, will this be at the 4-day event?
Will this be, what does that mean?
I'm assuming he's talking about the August events.
Okay, but
I guess he's asking if Jumpstart Prime is going to be at the...
Jumpstart Prime is the stuff that I do with real estate. So in that double 2-day event, the first 2 days is the tour of the properties and the description of how I did them with the seller, with the buyers, and while we're going in between each one of the properties, I'm teaching people how to spot properties that could possibly be deals while we're on those drives. So we're going to go to a lot of properties. We're probably going to meet with some of the buyers that are in the properties as well. So for 2 days, all day long, that's focused just on real estate deals right live, right in front of your face and the people that did them with me. The second 2 days is Jumpstart, but it's Jumpstart Live. So the same information that's taught in Jumpstart Online or Jumpstart Prime is in my Jumpstart program. This is your online version so that you can continue doing this over and over again. I've got people that go in and do Jumpstart, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 times, and each time they learn something new, which was the same thing. Well, this is a very much upgraded program from the original one, so they'll learn even more from that. So hopefully that cleared up his question. All right, next question.
Lee asked if it could be an MP4 format. We could probably work that out, Lee. And
wait a minute, whoa. No, Jumpstart Prime is an online program. We're not going to download it into a different type of program, unless he's talking about MP4 on the live event. Is that what he's talking about? Will there be a recording of the live event?
Hold on 1 second. Okay, while he's answering, William asked, would my Jumpstart Prime allow me to get questions answered even 6 months later?
Yes, it's the same Q&As that we do right now, just like today. The second half of this is all about answering people's questions, is the same one that's on online Jumpstart. We're just going to be doing, it's just going to be the new updated version of Jumpstart Online, which is the Prime. So the name of the new Jumpstart Online is Jumpstart Prime.
Okay, I don't have any more questions at the moment. So
what about the MP4 question that Lee had?
He still hasn't responded.
Okay, my assumption, he may have been asking if we're making a recording of the live event. That might be what he's talking about. So, okay. All right, so anyone have any questions about real estate now? Okay, Courtney, so while we're waiting...
Not at the moment, no.
Okay, so while we're waiting on, if anyone has any questions, because usually they're all gun-shy to ask a question first. So let me tell you a little bit about a deal we just got done doing. So we took over a property. I spent $10 on it. We put our buyers in place. They were in it for about a year. We probably made $20,000 off that. Then those buyers moved out. We put the next buyers in place. Those were in there. We probably made another $20,000 or so off of that one. And so then those buyers, that was the second buyers in there, they let us know. Actually, they didn't let us know. It was last month. We got a phone call from a property management company who was asking if these people that were in that property, made their payments on time and all this kind of stuff. Well, of course, if we're getting this phone call, then we know that they're probably moving, or they might be signing somebody else's lease on a different property. There's a possibility of that. Well, it turned out that these people were moving. But so we found out through the other rental management company, and that they're interested in moving and all that kind of stuff. So they came in with their keys about 5 days before their next payment was due, which their contract was already up. And yes, they're supposed to give a 30-day notice, but they didn't. They just decided to do it that way. So a lot of people get frustrated. It bothers them. It doesn't bother me in the slightest bit. I just say cha-ching. But before we could do anything to even put a lockbox on the door, or to consider maybe doing some improvements to it, or it just just simply a quick walkthrough to make sure that it wasn't, tore up or anything like that is all we were able to do. So maybe 10 minutes time max. And before I could even get the property put out there for sale, people got that property from me. So Courtney was sitting there, she's going, well, that was probably about 2 hours from the time that we let go, the last people let go of it and the new people were in it. So if you design your business, your company, around the way that I run mine, that happens probably 80% of the time. 20% of the time, we might spend a couple of weeks or maybe even a month or so, depending on if it's a very unusual property, to get someone new in there. But it's always a benefit if they move out and someone new moves in. That's always a benefit. Is it in their best interest? No, but that's not my fault. They chose to do that. They changed their world by going down the road of, you know what, I've changed my mind. The grass is greener somewhere else. And so that's on them. I don't want it to cost me with them making those kind of choices. So I say cha-ching when that happens. But the bottom line is, it's very easy to move properties and to keep your system going. You shouldn't have long vacancies and all that kind of stuff. There just should be no reason for that if you build a good, solid list and a good reputation. Okay, Courtney, are there any questions?
I do not have any questions at the moment.
Okay, that blows my mind, but I guess with this nice weather, nobody wants to do this stuff. They want to be outside.
Okay, I have one.
All right, I told you.
All right, Richard, you're unmuted. Go ahead.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone.
Hey, Richard.
Hi. Well, I don't really have a question at the moment that I can think of. I was trying to figure out a question, but I just wanted to kind of talk about what I was doing at the moment a little bit.
Go ahead.
The other day I was talking with a seller, and it sounds like he has like multiple properties, and he was with his nephew, and he was trying to take me to see different properties and sell me all kinds of properties. Okay. So
now, is he only interested in renting those properties, or is he wanting to sell them?
The owner, he's an older man. He's like in his 70s. The nephew is telling me that he says he's done. Sounds like he wants to just sell the properties.
So he's a disgruntled landlord. He's ready to let go of it. I talk about that kind of scenario all the time. Okay, so now, do you have a question about that or what?
No question. Just kind of reviewing where I am at the moment, or maybe just do you have any suggestions on how to kind of just go about it, or just
keep in mind
process?
Keep in mind, you have to understand what the pain is that he wants to let go of. So when you were first with him, one of the things that you got to do without being real obvious about it is, what is it that's making you not want to be a landlord anymore? I know that you're tired of worried about unplugging toilets at 2 a.m., but what is it that's making you decide that you're ready to hang this up? And so that's the first thing you want to do, is just kind of get a little feel. Maybe the nephew knows better than you think, and could also tell you a little bit of that. All right, so now if you have a little idea of what their direct personal pain is, then it's a little bit more helpful. If not, then in general, most landlords, the pain and suffering is vacancies, properties getting torn up, and having to fix things constantly when you got tenants in the house. So if you can rub some salt in that open wound that he's dealing with, and then cleanse that wound for him all in the same statement, then you can really, really do well. The main mistake most people do in the very beginning when they're in your position is they want to take over all those properties at one time and try to get buyers for them. Now, sometimes the renters that are in the property can become the buyer, but I'm just saying that people try to bite off more than they can chew in the beginning. So what you want to do is you want to solve the problem on 1 or 2 or maybe up to 5 of his properties before you ask for any more. And so that's the direction that I'd go. Now to have that conversation where it kind of rubs pain in the open wound, like I said earlier, you know, I know you're tired of probably unstopping toilets at 2 a.m. and fixing air conditioners or heaters or, you know, repairing holes in walls when they move out, or having to get, you know, the exterminator there because they left your roaches or they left all their belongings inside, and you got to get somebody to get it all out on the curb before you can put someone else in. I would love to take over a couple of these properties. I've got end buyers in place, people that don't have a renter mentality, who want to take care of these places. They want to move in and they want to take care of it, and I want to be able to do that with you, and then you would not be responsible for any of the maintenance or upkeep. That would be on me. And then shortly down the road, can't promise you how long that would be, but shortly down the road, I work on getting them qualified so that I can get you paid off on each property by itself. But I want to start getting the burden off of you so you don't have any more of those vacancies and that trash and debris to deal with, and, you know, all those things. So does that make sense, Richard?
It does make sense.
Okay.
And the one property I went to see, because I just the other day I just dialed up the number, and I guess I got in contact with the nephew, and the nephew says, "Oh, you want to go out and check it out?" I was like, "All right." so I went out there to check it out. Like, you know, half hour talking to him. And
now, does he have for sale signs in the yards of all these properties?
The properties he sent me, well, when I went to the first property, there was a for sale by owner sign.
Okay,
because I happened to be driving by. And
so just keep this in mind. If they are already advertising it, then fine. What I'm about to say doesn't matter. But a lot of times when you're dealing with the landlord who has the property and tenants in it, they want to sell the property, but they don't want their tenant to move out. And sometimes the tenants will move out if the landlord is trying to sell the property, because number one, they're not sure if the person who's going to be buying it is going to rent to them for the same deal or not. Number two, they're not sure if the person is going to rent to them at all. Number three, they don't want to be disrupted over and over again for people walking through the house that they live in for it being shown a lot. So, you know, just keep in mind that a lot of times these people will move out because of that. So you just kind of have to be respectful of that and know that that's a possibility if they're not advertising. Now, if they are advertising, they've already, the tenants already know, but a lot of times they don't want the tenants to know. So you just have to be aware of whether they are worried about the tenants knowing or not. Okay?
Okay. And with that first property I went to see, when the owner started telling me more about it, I guess he said that the previous tenant he had in there was, I guess they did drugs, and I guess they got off of it and then they got back on it. So
lovely.
So I can kind of see, at least with that, I can see with that property that, you know, that could be some of that salt, which is,
sure,
you know, the tenants.
That's right.
Tenants up and messing up.
Yeah, because the neighbors are constantly watching the police come to the property in those kind of situations, and then every single time the neighbors are calling the landlord and saying, "Hey, did you know that there's 17 officers in the backyard with their weapons all pulled," and, you know, all this stuff. So yeah, it's definitely you can definitely rub some salt in there and then solve it. So okay, any other questions?
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Courtney, is any other questions?
Yep. Okay, so Ron asked, have you ran across, or what happens when you put someone in a property and at term and it does not, or the house does not appraise for the buyer to refinance it?
Okay, so if depends on what the note is. If there's a note still on the property, if there's a small enough note on it to where they can borrow enough to cover the debt that's on the property, then we still do that, and then we take back a second for the balance that's owed to us. So let me kind of plug in an example to that. Let's say that there's $110,000 owed on the property. It appraises for I'm sorry, let's say there's 110,000 owed on the property. Let's say that I'm owed a grand total of 150,000 and it appraises for 125. So obviously there's a $25,000 difference there, but let's say that my end buyer put 10 down, so there's still another 15,000 that needs to come to me beyond what the appraisal, what the bank's going to loan, which is maybe the appraised amount. Well, even if they can't loan up to the appraised amount, but they can loan up to what the original debt is, the first debt that's on there. So if they can borrow, say the 110,000 on there, then that first is paid off. There's a new first in place. I'm going to allow that to go. I'm going to subordinate my position, second position, to them, because normally I would move into first when the first is paid off, but I'm going to allow that new lender to take this debt over, or take first position with the new debt in place, and then I'm going to take back a second mortgage for the balance of what they still owe me, which might be, in that case, about 15,000, 25,000, somewhere in that ballpark. Now, a lot of times, that second mortgage can't be put in place at the same closing table. You may have to do it after the fact. Your investor-friendly attorney will help you with how to get that accomplished. Okay? So that's what we do with those situations. All right, next question.
Okay, Stephanie asked, will Jumpstart Prime show how you should structure your business as far as what phone system, types of marketing, follow-up system, etc.?
Yep, sure does. Has all of it in there. Okay, next question.
Okay, I am all out of questions right now, so just type them in and raise your hand.
Okay, guys, well, I'm not going to hold you on here unless there's another question that pops up. I'm going to say going once, going twice.
Okay, we got one. All right.
Go ahead.
All right, Michael, you're unmuted, so go ahead.
Oh my gosh, somebody who can talk to me.
I don't know. I couldn't hear a response. I'm on a laptop. I'm not sure if the microphone's working.
Okay, yep, we can hear you, Michael.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I was just curious if your program works in every state, or is there any states that have laws that prohibit you from starting the business the way you do it?
Okay, so Jumpstart Prime teaches you a lot of different real estate investing techniques. All 50 states, there are pieces in Jumpstart Prime that works really well in every single state. The only state that I can think of that gives a little bit of an issue, and that's even up for argument and discussion, is Texas with a lease option. So if I was going down the road, you know, there's a lot more than just lease options in Jumpstart. But if I was going down the road of a lease option, a lease purchase, then Texas says you can't do a lease purchase. But if you look on Craigslist, in every city, every area in Texas, you'll see lease purchases advertised all the time. So I'm not sure what's going on there with the lease purchase thing. It doesn't make any sense to me. I would sit down and have that come to Jesus talk with your investor-friendly attorney with that one specific technique. But there's so many different ways of doing the same exact deal, making the same money with different techniques that accomplish what a lease purchase does. Okay? Does that help you there, Michael?
Yes, it does. I was just curious because
Which state are you in?
I'm in Washington State.
No issues at all. No issues.
Okay.
The only thing you run into in Washington State is a lot of desolate area. So, you know, what town are you close to?
I'm about a half hour from Seattle.
Okay, so you've got a nice rural area to make some serious deals happen there.
I live in a suburb close to Everett, Washington, which is the next major city up north.
Okay.
And we have rural areas pretty close by.
That's right. What would you say your population is in the area that you would be covering?
Well, I live in Marysville, and this is where I was raised, so I would probably just stick to this area.
Right, but what's the population?
I don't know the population. It keeps growing.
Okay. All right. So
I
you
would
go
say
to
at least 50,000.
Okay, so you can go to your city data area and learn, what the population is and who's living there and what it is that they earn, what kind of money they make. There's a lot of very valuable information there when you go through your city data, through Google. So you should study that a little bit just so that you have an idea of what you're dealing with there and whether it's growing or it's not, which you just said it was growing, but this will tell you for sure the true stats on it. So that way you're not second guessing yourself or any of that kind of stuff. You'll see for real what's happening. Okay?
Yeah, I've checked the city data,
Okay.
but I just don't remember the population. But
Okay.
I do know because other people are in the either buying phase. In other areas closer to Seattle, the prices are increasing where there's multiple offers.
Okay.
So it's kind of a growth market right now.
Right. But here's the thing that people make the biggest mistake in the world, and I have this all the time, especially in California. They constantly pick up the phone. They're mentoring students of mine. They pick up the phone, they call me and say, I can't find any deals. Every time I try to get a deal, it's already gone. Somebody's bought it because the market moves so fast. And then I go and I research their area, and there's a ton of properties that are foreclosed on or in foreclosure with the banks. Now, if all these properties are being sold quickly, then how is it that there's all these properties that are sitting on the foreclosure books with the lenders sitting right there in those towns? So the bottom line is they don't understand how to get to the properties that people aren't buying and they're being foreclosed on. So that's just one little tiny granule of sand in finding deals that people don't understand. What it is they all go for the same exact kind of deal and people beat them out in that world. So they're trying to play the game of checkers, and they don't understand that the playing field is chess, not checkers, and they're all playing checkers on a chessboard. Chessboard is a lot more complicated, a lot more moving parts with different directions, different variations. Man, I'm really liking how I just came up with that crap. But anyway, the bottom line is you have to understand to play chess, not checkers, on that same exact playing field, that same board. And that's the issue, that people just focus in one thing that everybody's doing. It's the same thing like when I described this other scenario where you take this 10-foot by 10-foot room, you close it off. There's a little closet in the room and the door is locked in that closet. And inside that closet, there's 50 pounds of dog food inside that closet. In the other corner in that room, there's a plate on the floor with some dog food on it. And there's 25 dogs that are starving to death put into that room. They all head to that plate because none of them knows how to go and open up the closet door to get to the 50 pounds of dog food. What I'm trying to tell you is Jumpstart Prime, the things that I do, it gives you the key to open up that door and get to the 50 pounds of dog food. Get to all the deals that no one else does because they're all after that little plate of food in the corner. They're all fighting each other after that little tiny plate of food when there's all this other opportunity sitting there behind that locked door and they don't know how to unlock it. So that's, I mean, Jumpstart Prime gives you the tools that you need. Now all you got to do is engage some creativity into what you're learning from Jumpstart Prime to make deals happen in whatever area, wherever you're at in the States. So, okay, any other questions?
Okay, Michael, I muted you again. Okay. Stephanie asked, how about doing lease options in New Jersey? Do you have any students in New Jersey?
Mm-hmm. Sure. Lease options are easy to do in Jersey.
Okay. And Ron asked, do you foresee upcoming issues with new laws or new Washington leaders changing things and banks to start lending again? So they say.
No issues. It just changes the playing field. Real estate is always a moving target. I did a live Jumpstart one time, and it was just a fluke. I talk about this all the time when that kind of question comes up. But I had like 28 people in the room. My Jumpstart classes have always been really small. So I had 28 people in the room. Turned out every single one of the students that were in that room were all millionaires or multimillionaires from real estate, and every one of them broke. And the reason they were broke, and I want to say this was around maybe 2010, because 2008 the crash happened in the conventional wisdom world. So around 2010 they'd all lost everything. All their properties foreclosed on. They lost this, they lost that. They're all broke. And I'm not meaning to, make light of what happened to them. It's pretty devastating and terrible. But they only understood the conventional wisdom world of real estate investing. Let me go find properties that I can get for a cheaper price. I'll put some money into them, and then I'll turn around and sell them for more than what I paid in buying, holding, and repairing or upgrading. And that was their model. Or they were the other type, which was go out and let me buy it and then let me rent them out while I let the tenants pay off my mortgages, and 20, 30 years later I've got free and clear properties. Okay, so that's extremely painful ways of doing real estate. There are so many different ways to do real estate, and based on what's happening in the economy, I adjust to what makes money in real estate. What does the most profitable, like I told you in the very beginning of this whole thing, the 5 things that I do that make it the most profitable in doing real estate deals. So it's always a moving target. It always adjusts. It always changes. The White House right now, the new administration, they're talking about getting rid of Dodd-Frank. I'm sure they will eventually when Democrats and Republicans stop fighting with each other and they actually get something done. But they are going to get rid of Dodd-Frank. They are going to reduce the restrictions on the banks, and they're going to break up the big banks into smaller pieces. Those are the things that I keep hearing, but the message that I'm most interested in is when I hear them say they're going to make it possible for banks to loan money again. So that changes the dynamics of real estate investing, and it fits perfectly into Jumpstart Prime. All the stuff that I have in there has been tested and done for more than 50 years. So we're not talking about just the past, what has it been, 9 years since everybody's worried about that crash, that we made more money since that crash has happened than I did in all the years I've been doing real estate. I just know how to work with what the situation is, and when there's something that's terrible that happens, it creates opportunity, and my creativity makes me realize how to identify the problems and solve them quickly for a fair profit. So I solve my sellers, my buyers' problems, no matter what's going on. I solve the bank's problems. I solve other professionals' problems in a matter, we're talking about a matter of minutes. Sometimes it's not even 1 minute. It's less than 60 seconds, and I solve their problems. And then we become the local hero in our area, and then everybody sends everyone to us because we're the only ones that can solve those problems. So just adjusting to whatever happens is what Jumpstart Prime is all about when you kick in your creative mind into what you're learning from Jumpstart Prime. Okay, next question.
Okay, Richard, I'm going to unmute you, so go ahead.
Hello again.
Hey.
Just as you're mentioning about with banks starting to lend more, I was just wondering what kind of techniques will we start to see, or how would you start to move with that kind of target?
Well, in a typical scenario, I mean, there's a million answers to that question, but let's just say that you're focused on the end buyers that you put in place. Maybe they went into a lease purchase, maybe they went into a seller financing deal, maybe they went into an agreement for deed with you. Doesn't matter. Bottom line is, if banks can lend a little bit easier again, then their restrictions are not as hard as they have been, and it doesn't take as long for them to qualify someone to loan money to. So the thing that you would see that would change a little bit, that would fit those 5 steps that I told you in the very beginning of this, is you've got them into maybe a lease option, maybe it's a seller finance, whatever, or maybe they're buying it from you subject to, and you did a seller carryback second on it. So as soon as those buyers, can go and borrow the money to at least pay off the existing financing that's in place on that property, or a piece of what they owe you, if maybe you seller finance the whole thing, then the bank has provided you a big chunk of money to solve some piece of this puzzle, but you don't want them to completely cash out. If they do, they do, and you don't try to stop them. But if they don't, that's a great thing, because then you take back financing on the balance, and you're still in the deal monthly. So that would be an example, but like I said, Richard, there's a lot of different ways, a lot of different scenarios when banks are able to write checks again. You might have deals that you've passed up on that you could easily get $12,000 from the bank, because they're going to write you the check sight unseen, no appraisal, no nothing. You just say you want it, and they got a line of credit sitting there for you to use on 2 deals, no more than 2 deals at a time, and no more than maybe $300,000. So all of a sudden a $12,000 deal pops up. You go grab 12 grand or 15,000, pay yourself a few thousand, buy that place, and you already have buyers in place who are going to pay you 3,000 down and $800 a month on it. Now that's pretty close to what you just experienced this week, wasn't it?
I see. Oh yeah.
All right. So, I mean, literally, I mean, I've told people this, and it's kind of like a joke, but it's the truth. Once upon a time, I had lots of different banks in my local area. Each one of them I had a $300,000 limit with, and I could do 2 real estate deals, maximum of $300,000. If one deal was $10,000, I have $290,000 for the other deal. If the second deal was $100,000, I can't do another one. I can only do 2 deals or a maximum of $300,000. If I do one deal at $300,000, I can't do a second deal. But each bank I had that with. And literally, I can remember one time sitting in the damn bathtub. I think I had hurt myself on something, and I'm soaking in the bathtub. And I pick up the phone, and I called the bank and said, whatever I needed, it was hundreds of thousands, whatever I needed, and within a few hours, the money is sitting there at my office waiting on me. It's that easy in that kind of situation. Now, will we see that again? I don't know if it's going to be that easy again or not, but when banks can start lending more, they don't make money unless they're lending money. So they have to be able to lend money to make real money. They're charging loan origination fees, a few other little small administrative fees, and then they're charging interest. If they aren't loaning the money, then they're paying the interest out on the shareholders that have put their money with the bank, but they're not able to make a return on it because their hands are so tied with lending money. They want to lend money so that they can make money. Okay? Any other questions?
Oh, hey, Joe.
Yep.
I was just thinking when you lend out, when the banks can lend out more money, it basically creates a lot more. You can be a lot more creative because
you don't have more money. You don't have to be as creative. I mean, it's like I said, that all those broke millionaires in the room, that's all they understood. If they could go to the bank and borrow the money, they could make money off of real estate. There was no creativity there at all. I mean, hell, I've got a 10-year-old who could do that 3 years ago. So, that's not creative. It's when banks can't write checks and no one knows what to do, and there's all this debt against it, and they're owed more than the property's worth. Then the creativity comes in, and it's very easy to make money off them, but most people don't know how. So then you're the only game in town. Okay. All right. Okay. Courtney, are there any other questions sitting there?
Yeah, Stephanie asked, I'm interested in going to the 4-day boot camp. Is there a hotel close to where the event is being held?
Yeah, just contact the office tomorrow. Just give them a call tomorrow, and they'll help you with that. They'll send you a list of hotels. I think there's like 15 or 16 that are right down the street. So, but they'll send you a list of all the hotels when you sign up for the boot camp and ask for the, that list. Okay?
You would have to call on Monday. We aren't open on Fridays.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. That's right. Tomorrow is Friday. But But yeah, or you can email them, either way, and someone will get it back to you way, way, way before you're coming.
All right, I don't have any questions.
Okay, all right, then I am going to cut it off here. So I hope you all have a good day, and take advantage of what I'm putting in front of you guys. I'm telling you, if I had me to help me 30 years ago, I mean, I didn't lose money on deals, but oh my gosh, there's so much money I didn't make that I could have made that I just didn't realize. So, and if my grandparents and my parents were doing real estate deals today, they'd be, oh my gosh, the whole world for them would be totally different than it was. And I can't fault what went on back then, because it's part of the fiber of me growing up in that atmosphere and learning what to do and what, even more powerful, not to do. And so plugging all that into my real estate investing business over the past many years, I took it all at the very basic level and stuck it in Jumpstart Prime. So, all right, everybody have a good day now. Bye.